All right, now we're recording.
Luckily, our internet decided to work.
Welcome, everybody. So everybody who just joined, go ahead and state where you're from and something epic that happened to you today.
And you're welcome to put that in the chat box.
Or you can just speak it here in Zoom because we have Zoom. So if you want to just say it, you can say it. I like to hear it. And or you can just put it in the chat box, either way.
So again, where are you from and something epic that happened to you today?
And don't be shy. This is all about relationships, getting out of our comfort zone, being able to step in our power. So feel free to put in what you would like.
I'm Wendy, and I'm from Eagle Mountain, Utah, and can't think of anything epic today. I did coach my own group and got through that, and it turned out really well, so I guess that's epic.
Awesome. Very cool. Sweet. I love that there's coaches here. Sounds like we have Suzanne. She's on. She's from Eagle Mountain. Amazing mentoring session with a male client. Congratulations. Those are always fun. Very good.
All right, and everybody see the screen we just shared. You can hear us okay? Yeah?
Sweet. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. First of all, welcome to 5 Ways to Grow Your Entrepreneurial Business by Mastering Your Relationships. And we're going to dive into some of the content we're going to cover during this event. Why your relationships are so important to your business, the 5 key relationships that are affecting your business success, and how to shift them and create fulfillment and results consistently. And if you stay to the end, we're going to share with you some opportunities where you can get some one-on-one coaching on your business and your relationships. I'm Emily Watson.
I'm Tyler Watson, for those of you who don't know us.
And we're really excited for you to be here together today. So I just want to ask this question again. Tyler mentioned in the beginning, this is going to be interactive. I hope you guys are willing to be interactive and jump into the chat box, share some things about yourself. Why are you here? And that's a question that we actually really want to know the answers to, because this is going to be a very personalized webinar. This is going to be a very personalized training for those of you that are here. And we have some really important things to share. Tyler and I have a lot of experience working with relationships and with business. But we want to share some things that are very specific to the people here. So I just want to go ahead and put in the chat box right now. Why are you here? What are you looking to gain from this webinar tonight? And what are some of the things that are really important to you? And, you know, there will be people who are joining us throughout this event, this webinar. And I just want to make sure we have a chance to include everyone that's here. And also for those of you on the replay, you're not here and you're not able to, you know, write in the chat box right here, but you're welcome to hop on our Enrollment Masters Facebook group and ask your questions there.
Great. And those of you who are live, if you'd like, and if you don't want to just put it in the chat box, you can go ahead and speak what your intention is here. Like, what would you like to get out of today? So go ahead. Suzanne says, I enjoyed your trainings and help a couple of weeks ago.
Very cool. Sweet.
So why are you here though? Like, even though you enjoy the trainings and help, what specifically are you here to look for? Because here's the number one thing that I'm going to teach, even out of all these 5 relationships, is if you don't know what you're looking for, you're going to get something regardless. So the more intention we can get, the more powerful and clear and precise, the better our results will be. So get really precise and allow yourself to dream big. Like, what attracted you to this webinar? And if you could actually get it, what kind of difference would that make? So why are you really here? And Wendy says, I'm always open to learning more about improving relationships and business. I know they're both connected. Awesome. Very good.
Very cool. Awesome. So here's our question. And this is connected to, have you experienced a lot of these things, ups and downs in your business? Inability to maintain success, feeling burnt out with what you do even though it's your passion, putting on a show for those you serve, wanting to withdraw or feeling triggered, self-sabotage through addictions or negative thoughts, frustration with spouse or clients, inability to communicate what you do in a way that makes people take action, or just the feeling that you can be better or doing better in business and in life. And again, welcome to those of you who are just joining us. Have you ever felt this? Go ahead and put it in the chat box. Anyone ever felt any of these things? Is this just Tyler and I that have ever felt these things? I hope we're not alone in this. Because I think in some ways these are things that we've all experienced. But as we work with people, and we'll share a little bit about our story in just a minute, we've noticed that business owners who have these things a lot, it's really connected to your relationship. You're in the right place if you've ever experienced any of those things. Mastering your relationships for your business, and Talon says a lot of feeling burnt out and wanting to withdraw. Definitely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Huge entrepreneurial cycle. Like you talk to any entrepreneur, they experience that.
Yeah.
And it's part of the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, for sure.
But we'll teach you some cool ways to how to overcome that.
Yeah. So mastering relationships will help you increase your motivation, create sustainable foundations for every kind of success, relieve stress and stress-related problems, generate high levels of fulfillment and happiness, get you exponentially more and higher quality customers and clients, and make you more money. Anybody interested in any of those things?
And you can state it on, I like to hear it because this is Zoom. Like, that's why I use Zoom, because if you want to just unmute yourself and say something, like, I like to hear people's voice. I'm more of a speaker oriented. Emily's very good at the chat. So either way, if you want to chat, but I love to hear people's voices.
Cool. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, I have birds in the background. That's why I keep me muted.
That's all right. Fine. Birds are great.
Anyway, I just understand relationships are so important. That's why I'm here. And just to make sure that I'm on target with all my relationships. And yeah, I don't want stress. Yes. I'm so new at what I'm doing. And so I'm just getting going.
Sweet.
Awesome. Way to go.
Thank you, Suzanne, for sharing that.
Any others want to share real fast before we move to the next section? Cool. All right. Let's jump in.
Talon says, I feel like my relationship with my wife and family is not doing well, so my business suffers, and so does my ability to share my story and have faith in what I'm doing.
Great. Thanks for being honest.
Thanks
yeah, this is going to be good.
That'll be really good for you. All right. So just a little bit about us. I didn't create a slide for this, so we're just going to go ahead and speak for it.
Cool.
So Tyler, if you want to start out by sharing your story and why we're so passionate about this. First of all, before we jump into the core stories there, we've been doing business. We've been helping people build businesses very successfully for the past 4 years. I've been a coach and a mentor for about 12 years. Tyler's been, in the past 4 years. And we understand a lot about growing businesses because that's our main business that we've worked on this past 4 years. We started helping coaches and entrepreneurs and speakers, network marketers, healers. We've helped them double and triple and quadruple what they do. And it's been a really fun journey. We went from 0 to 6 figures in about 7 months when we started our business, just by some of the things we learned. And then we went to, making $250,000 in a weekend, 6-figure weekends. And Tyler has a best-selling book. We've had a lot of success with our business. But we've noticed a really interesting thing that has happened a lot, which is our clients. We've had some really successful clients, and then we've had some clients that have struggled a little bit. And one of the major things that's the difference between the clients that have really been successful and those who have struggled is their relationships. And relationships are very near and dear to us. Because of our stories. So if you want to share a little bit about you and your story.
Sure. Yeah. So those are some of the results that we've had applying these. And just to tack on, I've had the blessing to speak with and speak for Ted McGrath and Les Brown and teach all over the country and all over the world. And honestly, I look like I'm like 17 if I don't do my hair and I don't dress up. So no matter what resistance you have about fear, or can you make it, or, can I go to the next level? I'm here to say that yes, you can, if you choose to. And back before I believed that, when I was 12 years old, my parents I remember my dad coming to me, and I'm sitting on the couch, and he says to me, "Hey, son, we need to talk." And I'm thinking, did I do the dishes? Did I, vacuum the floor? And he says, out of the blue, your mom and I are getting a divorce. And my whole life, I had my foundation was on relationships and love and family. And in that moment, it was as if all my truth was completely questioned and destroyed. So I put on my smile and I acted as if everything was okay. And I said all the things that everyone wanted me to say. And then I became all-star, class president, MVP. And at the end of the day, I suffered with suicidal thoughts, depression, addictions to pornography and video games, always wanting to withdraw, terrible fears around relationships. My mom went through 3 more divorces. My dad went through another. And I was so terrified of relationships. And I hated to talk. I hated talking because my parents would say, "Tyler, go tell your mom this." And my dad would say that. And my mom would say, "That's not true. Go tell your dad this." And I love my parents. I have a great relationship with them now. But my interpretation of what happened changed and helped me become who I am. And so I look back on that with a lot of gratitude. Even though during it, I was totally not grateful for those experiences. And we've all been there, right? And so throughout that journey, as I became an entrepreneur, I had a lot of self-sabotage. And when I met Emily, I was terrified of being in a relationship. I was so afraid. And using these principles that we're going to teach you, I focused heavily on my relationship with Emily, which is the number one contributing factor that helped me go from making less than $12,000 a year, seriously, $12,500 in a year, to being able to do $135,000 the next year and helping clients get the same types of results. So even though I was learning the business side, I contributed heavily the results to our relationship, because the moment it got off, every month that if our relationship was off, my income dropped. We'd have months that it would go up, and then months that would go down, and I'd be like, why do we have these ups and downs? Why can't we just be consistent? And the lack of consistency came back to relationships, especially with spouse and relationship with self and relationship with higher power. But they're all interconnected.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And that's why we chose to do this webinar, is because we're like, oh my goodness, like this is something that's really powerful. This is something that is not talked about a lot. I see a lot of people out there that are talking about, here's your 5 secrets to success, and here's the strategy sessions, and here's all the systems.
Get leads on Facebook.
Get leads on Facebook, and here's how to grow your social presence. And all those things are really awesome, and they're really important. And we teach those things in our masterminds and in our other events. However, we don't see a lot of people talking about the relationships. In fact, today I did a little survey. I Googled on Google, like I said relationships for entrepreneurs. That's all I put. And seriously, out of the top 10 things, about half of them were like, entrepreneurs suck at relationships. Here's how to get over the sucky relationships you have as an entrepreneur. And I was like, really? Really? That's what the perception is. And that's definitely a missing piece for entrepreneurs that are out there. It's interesting too, because I did some research. There's a group I'm a part of. There's about 60,000 entrepreneurs. And I asked them the other day, I was like, so what do you really want? And it's funny because people are like, yeah, they want money, they want time freedom, but really what most entrepreneurs want is like impact. And it's really sad to me that we get so caught up in the world of building our business that we forget the impact we want to make. And that starts with the people that are closest to us, right? So that's what we're going to talk about in this webinar today. So 5 ways to grow your entrepreneurial business by mastering your relationships. And we're just going to go ahead and jump in and talk about the ways, unless there's another thing.
I just have a quick question for those of you on. Do you actually see the Zoom chat, or do you see the full? Do you see the full PowerPoint? You see the full PowerPoint here?
I see the full PowerPoint with you in the corner.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great.
Just making sure.
Just want to make sure that I've done one where it's completely blocked, and I think people are following along, and then I'm like, why aren't people getting it? So
Yeah.
thank you.
Cool. All right. So you guys ready to jump in?
Give us a thumbs up, give us a shout out, and we'll dive right in. And this is going to be very interactive, so.
We just get used to it now. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Talon. Thank you, Suzanne. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. Way number 1, 5 ways to maximize your business. Number 1 is understanding the laws. And this is something that is foundational to whether you want to make money, whether you want to, reach more clients, whether you want to have better relationships. So this is something that is really powerful. Anyone ever seen this equation before? E equals MC squared. Anyone seen that before?
If you've ever been to our events.
It's better into our events. You've seen this, right? This is something that's really, really important. Go ahead, Suzanne. Do you have some? Oh, she just hopped on. Was that raising her hands?
When they unmute, that means they're going to talk. But I think you're good. Okay.
Well, so E equals MC squared. Basically, let's go through this really briefly. I have whole classes I've taught on this, for hours, but I'm not going to take that long right now. But understanding this law is foundational to understanding your relationships and how your relationships affect your business. So the E in equals MC squared, what does that mean?
And you guys can unmute yourself because this will be we're going to ask a bunch of questions.
Mm-hmm. Energy.
Yep, energy. So energy, electricity, and also that means thoughts and emotions, because thoughts and emotions actually have an energetic pulse that can be measured, right? So energy and thoughts and emotions, that's what E equals. The equal sign is what? What does that mean in mathematics? Anybody mathematical here?
It means they're the same on both sides.
Yep, it means they're the same on both sides. So it means it's the same as. Perfect. M. Anyone know what the M means?
Is it motion?
No, but close.
Mass.
Mass. Yep. So mass is what? What does mass actually mean?
How big something is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it's matter, right? So M in this equation means matter. So matter is like stuff you can touch, you can hold, actual results like money, like that is matter, right? Business success, getting more clients, those are matter that are like actually tangible things that you can see, right?
And you matter.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep, you're
right.
right.
So matter stuff, right? And then the C squared basically means really, really fast.
The speed of light
and
squared.
Right? So what is this? Excuse me.
You okay?
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. I need to talk for a second.
Got it. So the E equals MC squared. Matter and energy are the same thing moving at different speeds. And what happens if the E increases? The energy increases, what happens to the other side?
It has to increase.
The mass increases. What happens if the mass increases?
Then the energy increases.
Energy increases, right? So this is something that's very simple, yet most people don't get it when it really comes down to how people live life. So pick something that you want in your life. Like what's something, one of the relationships, whether it be relationship with self, with spouse and family, with higher power, with money, or with business and clients. Pick one of those relationships right now that you would like to improve and let us know what that is.
Business and clients.
Business and clients, okay? Who else? Spouse, great. Okay, so you've got spouse, business and clients, business and spouse. So we'll pick them all. We'll do them all.
Right.
But let's say mass is the results, right? Because that's like the tangible, what you're wanting. And let's say the reactions of your spouse, how your spouse is showing up. let's say it's not how you would like it to be, or the amount of money in your bank account is not where you'd like it to be, or the amount of clients that show up weekly that convert are not where you want it. So what does that say according to this law? If the M represents all those things, what does that actually say?
That your thoughts and emotions aren't high enough.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a high, and I want us to get out of the high to low. It's that it's not the same as.
Mm-hmm. Meaning it's the result you want, the energy is not matching it, right? Cool.
Because there's a lot of people that say just raise the energy, but you could have a lot of energy that's just chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about raising the energy, it's about having the type of energy that matches what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just about being more energetic and exciting like that. That's raising the energy. But is that energy equal to what creates the result you're looking for? Because every single one has a different equation. Is this kind of making some sense?
What do you do with a spouse that is completely opposite of you and you don't really agree on anything?
Good question. We will cover that, and I'll actually do some one-on-one coaching here in a moment to show you an example of how this law actually works. So hold that question for a moment, okay? And if be sure and bring that up, because that's going to be something that we want to share with the group, because that's very common. And so common.
Yeah. So continuing with this, energy, thoughts, and emotions can be transformed into mass. We just talked about that. The laws. Oops. Ooh.
Oh.
Wow.
You got a sneak preview.
Yeah. The laws of one apply to the other. So you have to understand that if you, like you were saying, if there's a physical law that manifests, there's an energetic law that also has to correspond to that. So going back to relationships with this, what is a relationship? In terms of energy and matter and mass and all that stuff, what is a relationship?
It's energy exchange between two people.
Yep. That's how we define it well. Thoughts, emotions, and communication between one person and thing and another, right? So if you think about it, and this is something that as I was preparing for this webinar, it kind of came up to me in a whole new way. A relationship is not actually something that's tangible. Like you can have, like I'm tangible, he's tangible, but our relationship, you can't see it. So it's actually energy. Like you can't see, I mean, you can see the effects of it, right? But you can't really see the communication and the thoughts and the emotions that are flowing between us, right? Which is really interesting. A relationship is energy and interacting with matter. And the outcome of everything you want, the tangible result of everything you want always reflects the energy and the relationship that's there. So if you want more money in your life, but you don't have it, it means that the thoughts, emotions, communication between you and money is not where you want it to be, right? If your spouse is, and this is obvious, like it's stating the obvious, but I want you to like get your mind wrapped around this idea. If you are the outcome, the interactions, the experiences you're having with your spouse are not where you want them to be, it means that the thoughts, emotions, and communication that's there, that's the relationship part, is not exactly where you want it to be. And there's some things you can do to change that. And we're going to talk about that. But I hope this is kind of getting it into a new way, because really, and this is something that, come here, click on this. In our, as we were sharing this web, it's all about relationships, really, honestly, like getting everything you want, especially in business, it's all about relationships. And I hope that you guys realize that, and I know you do, but hopefully putting in the terms of the E equals MC squared helps you get a whole new perspective on that. Do you have anything else you want to add before we jump into the next place? Okay. Way number 2, master the essential relationships. So here's the deal. I see so many entrepreneurs, and this is something that is really unfortunate. I see people who are entrepreneurs and want to make a difference in the world, who want to create something that's powerful, and they go for their business, and they really focus on the business. They start getting some traction in the business, but then something happens. Their business starts to cave. It starts to go down a little bit, or things start to fall apart. And it's because they're neglecting one of the other 4 essential relationships usually. Their business is growing, or their relationship with their spouse falls apart, or their spouse, they focus on that. So understanding the interrelationship, oh my goodness.
I'll get you some water.
Excuse me. Except I can't talk. Sorry, I'm just getting over a cold.
So mastering the...
I'll go get me some water.
Okay, go get some water. Cool. So mastering the essential relationships. Now, Emily has these pictures. So before I'm going to describe all this, I don't know what she's going to talk about this. I want you to get this vision of you as this vessel. And as you're this vessel, you have these 5 key relationships within the vessel. And let's say you have a sudden spike in one of the key areas. Let's take money, for example. Let's say you're given $1 million. Poof. Boom, you have $1 million. Welcome, right? And so you have $1 million come into your life today. If you do not have a balanced relationship, and if your cup is not able to increase, and we're going to show you a diagram on this, what happens is, because you have that increase of energy, because your money goes up, all your other areas are going to be affected. And if you don't increase each one of those areas to the same level as the money energy, like the $1 million type of frequency, what happens is your money will go back down to balance out the other areas. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how this happens. Someone wins the lottery, within 2 to 5 years, they go back down to the normal state. Also, someone who gets in a good relationship, they're like, or a relationship, they're like, finally, I found the one, and they think it's the one, but then it turns out to be very negative. That's showing that that cup wasn't actually balanced. And so they got the relationship, and what happens is, if those other areas weren't actually leveled up, then it could have been a manipulative thing, and it turns out to be chaotic. And so it's all about balancing and upgrading your cup so that you can have bigger amounts of energy come into your life.
Yep, and the baby picture is there's 5 essential relationships that I think we're just hardwired with. We came into the world, that's why I had a picture of the baby, to do. And in our brain, we have slots for these, and they all need to be in order. Otherwise, they take up space in our mind. So the five relationships are self, spouse, higher power, customers and clients, and this is entrepreneurs, right? And money. So all of those different things, as an entrepreneur, whether or not you're focused on it or not, they're taking up space in your mind. And your mind is holding on to those. My goodness, this is a great night for me, guys. Your mind is holding a space for each one of those relationships. So I just want you to take note on those, each of those 5 relationships, and think about where your mind is on each of those. So a lot of people might think, oh, my spouse doesn't have anything to do with my business. You know, my spouse is not involved in my business, so my relationship with my spouse doesn't actually affect my business. But in reality, because we're hardwired for each of these things, your spouse is holding a spot in your mind that is not being used for creativity if there's an issue with your relationship with your spouse.
And it'll depreciate all the others. And I see some who just focus on the business. They get very successful in business, but then they end up getting a divorce, right? And I've seen this hundreds of times. And what that shows to me is that they focused a lot on business because spouse and self and higher power were so small that to fill the cup, they just focused on business. And it became overwhelming, so they had to shut out the other areas, which causes chaos and actually affects their business. Like if they actually balance it, they'll have even more success, even if they deny it, even if they say, my business is fine, like it's not my spouse. They don't get the law of E = MC squared, because the law is it doesn't even matter if you believe it, it's still true. So that's why it's key to master every single one of these areas. And if you're helping your clients, that if you're just helping them with themselves, which includes health, mindset, anything that deals with yourself, and you don't tap into these other pieces, you can go at health all you want, but if their spouse relationship is terrible, or their higher power relationship is way off, or their business is completely chaotic, and they have a very negative relationship with money, their health is going to be impacted. And I've seen people get sick just because of a negative area in spouse, higher power, business, or money, and vice versa. So they all affect each other. Is this making sense to you guys so far? Just give us some feedback. Let us know that this is connecting.
Awesome. Very much.
Okay.
Cool. Understand how and why messy relationships slow you down. So this goes back to what we were talking about. So imagine that your mental capacity is like a cup, right? And there's a spot inside of the cup for each of these key relationships.
And before I'm even going to say not even just your mental capacity, but your whole spirit and soul capacity, because we deal with this not just mind but heart as well. So it's like your whole being capacity.
Mm-hmm. So if there's a lot of junk in one of these areas, it's taking up space, and literally your capacity goes down. So if you have a negative conversation with your spouse, it actually reduces your capacity to make money. If you have a negative relationship with money, it reduces your capacity to be able to communicate with your spouse. They're all interrelated. So if you have this junk down here, then it's actually creating for you stress, less creative power, and that's connected to your relationship with your spouse, bad decisions because you're not able to connect to your intuition, few clients, and small amounts of money. So I want you to do a little self-assessment for yourself here, and think about what areas, which of these 5 relationships is taking up space in your mind right now that is preventing you from having the full capacity, achieving your full capacity. And
they're all balanced. So pick one that you feel like is the most out of balance. And that's the one you want to focus on through this next couple exercises.
And so a lot of people are like, I want to work on my, you said at the beginning, you want to work on your spouse, you want to work on your business. But I would also consider, business relationships. Is your relationship with yourself affecting your ability to connect with your business? For me, I'll just say right now, my biggest challenge of all these 5 relationships is my relationship with myself. And whenever I get in a place where my relationship, because I've had, I had some trauma growing up. I've had a lot of times where I felt less than or not good enough or things like that. And I allow those habits to get in my mind. And actually, my relationship with my spouse and my higher power and my clients and money is all affected by my not being able to master that relationship, So if I'm having struggle in any of those relationships, I'm like, oh, gotta go take some time for myself,
Now, if I was a very negative person, that might be different.
Yeah.
Because if I wasn't fulfilling her needs, then it wouldn't be herself. It would be the top priority would be more of a spouse thing. Because if I was always getting on to her, being mean or angry or violent, then no matter how much self-care she does, if she responds differently, because she can still do something about it, even in those circumstances. It's a little trickier and takes more effort and energy, but it's doable. But if she didn't address it properly, then it would affect all those other areas, but the source would be the spouse. How does higher power fit into this? Well, let's say somebody's been praying or in a religious belief system and they feel suppressed, or they feel like their higher power lies to them because they acted on something and they got hurt. So then,
or they don't feel connected to anything bigger than themselves. Like even if they don't believe in, a God or a higher power, they're just like, I don't feel like I'm connected to anything. That limits your capacity.
And they could work on themselves all the time. They could be the physically fit, so amazing. They could have a good relationship with spouse. But if that higher power piece is off, then it's going to affect their level of happiness in all of those other areas, even if they think they're happy in those other areas. Same with clients. If you have clients that are not getting results, or if the clients are being naysayers or they feel like more of a drag, then you could have great relationships and all the others, but that's going to weigh you down, and that's going to anchor you to keep you from excelling in the other areas.
So again, if you, there's so many people out there that are like, I just need the right business system. Like, I just need to get my Facebook ads working. I just need to, like, you know, whatever, all those different things. But truth be told, to be honest, there's so many people that will get the most perfect system, but it still doesn't work. Or they'll get the most amazing, you know, spouse or whatever. And it's because underlying all of these, if these relationships are out of balance, you're not going to be able to create the fulfilling life that you want to.
And if you have trauma from your past, negative experiences, that's what this gray thing represents. Then no matter how many new things come into your life, if you do not change this, and we'll teach you some ways to do this, then you will always limit your ability to make an impact. And so you could put in all the money, all the cool spouse things that you have, all the self-care, all the higher power, all the clients. And if you only have this much out of this much, because the bottom half is just gnarly old junk, you're not going to feel very fulfilled.
So let's go ahead and, our chat's in there. Okay, perfect. Go ahead and click. And it's the same as the laws of nature, like physical laws. Water is a physical substance, but if it's all dammed up and it gets too dammed up, then it doesn't create the same. You have to be able to channel it, and that's what this is about. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next one. So way number 4, remove the blocks. And this is, I'm going to turn over to you to talk about how do you actually remove those blocks. So
this is my fun thing that I love to teach.
Yeah.
So here's some ways, and there are thousands and thousands of ways to remove the blocks, but here's the foundation. Number 1, you have to find the cause. To every block, there is a cause. Every block. And to every limiting belief, to every struggle, there is always, the word is what? Always a cause. Number 2, you must rate the emotional charge that cause has. So for example, if I get angry all the time, and I get triggered from whatever, like my spouse says something and I get angry, right? Then I have to be able to be present enough to find the cause and rate that emotional charge. Number 3, this is the thing that a lot of people miss, is that they miss out on the threads, which are different factors that tie to the cause. So an example. So if I'm working on someone who's been through being molested as a kid, right? And they're having negative relationships present day. Big surprise, because why? Because of their cup is filled with all the junk.
It's filled with the emotional stress, it's the trauma, it's the limiting beliefs of themselves, it's all those things that have stopped them. Yeah.
Or if they've ran a business and failed, and no matter what they do now, they're like super scared and nothing works.
Or they started their business and they had some great success for a few months, and then somebody was unhappy. That became junk in the cup, right? Some client was like, "Oh, I didn't like you," or whatever, you know.
And so then it gets stopped. So you have to locate all the threads. And I'll take somebody through an example of all this in a second. And then the 4th piece is acceptance and forgiveness. And the final piece is to create a new belief. Okay? So I love to use tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique, as many people know it. But the problem is most people who've done this don't actually hit the causes, find all the threads of the cause. So they'll do it and they say, I've tapped and I know tapping. And then I say, great, well, what's your block? Like, are you making as much money as you want? No. How's your relationship with your spouse? It sucks. Then you don't know how to tap. Like, then they're not actually doing it to the most effective way. So regardless if you've heard about how to do this technique, I'm going to share with you how to do it and just be open. I'm going to invite you to be open to say, I can master this process. And if you don't like this process, use something else that helps you find the cause, get the emotional charge so that you rate it, and then locate the threads, eliminate the threads through acceptance and forgiveness, and then form a new belief. There's thousands of techniques that do this. Okay, so let me take somebody for an example. Who would like to be walked through an example that you have a block that is
I would like to.
Great. Who said that?
I think it's Wendy. Is that Wendy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wendy, awesome. So tell us a little bit about one of the blocks. And I'm going to invite everybody who's listening to just be present, because it's really easy while taking someone through this to have the thoughts, this doesn't apply to me. I don't see, this feels like a time waster. That's part of your junk in your cup. Because for me, I could listen to something and be present because I've worked so hard and I still have lots of stuff in my cup. But every day I'm working on eliminating it so that when I'm in a new circumstance, I can see all the factors and all my senses are aware and alive, that it doesn't tune me out to being like, I wish I was somewhere else. Does that make sense? So just be present for this as we take you through this. So Wendy, tell us something that you feel like is a block.
The biggest block I have, like I said, is my spouse. It has everything to do with how opposite we are, and I mean down to politics and belief system, pretty much everything. And I've tried really hard to be positive and to, work on myself. I have a great relationship with myself, with God, with all these other areas, but and I've tried to spend a lot of energy clearing and tapping and all these things, but there's still this negative energy with us, and I would like that to go away.
Yeah. So what specifically happens in your relationship that you feel like is, and pick just one that you feel like is causing this emotional charge?
I think everything is wrapped around the religious beliefs, with him leaving our belief system. It's kind of put a wedge between us, and it's affected our children and how we raise them and all of that.
Okay. And so when he leaves the religion, how does it make you feel?
Well, this happened like a year after we were married, and I felt betrayed.
Yeah. So betrayed, is there another emotional charge that comes up as you're thinking about that?
I'm frustrated and just kind of feel alone.
Yeah. And how do you react? What is your reaction? And pick a specific moment, because this is where the key is what is something that he's done. So like when you say he leaves the church, that's an overall like big thing. That's like someone saying, I've been molested. Like, yeah, but that's like so broad, right? So what did he actually do or say specifically that caused the charge?
It's interesting. It happened over time. I think things like this often do. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a single event, but, I saw some signs even before we were married that I kind of felt, or I feel at times that I wish I would have listened to that. And I want to make it clear, I'm not sad that I married him, and we're very committed to each other and we have a deep love for each other, but I would like for this piece to go away, to be resolved, to live together in harmony. I think a lot of times we do, but there's a lot of sarcasm and negativity from his side as well.
Great. So pick a time when he was sarcastic, and what was your reaction?
Oh, Okay, so I guess the biggest thing for me is when he attacks how I feel about things or how I believe.
Okay. So like, give me a specific instance. What was said exactly?
Um, it has to do with my intelligence. I mean, like he acts like I'm crazy for believing this.
Okay. So how does he act? What does he actually say that makes you think that he acts that way?
Um, well, we'll pick a topic about the history of the church or something like that, and
Yeah.
just talking about it. I don't know. You want major specifics, huh?
Yeah. And here's the thing, Wendy, what's happening right now is in your mind, it's like this big overall thing that's happened over a lifetime.
Yeah.
But the reality of getting to the cause is getting to what exactly was said and what exactly was interpreted. And because right now, as he says something, you have a response to this thing, which most likely is to withdraw or shut down or not feel good enough, something of that area, which affects your personal feeling of yourself. And so to get to this cause, when we can eliminate the response by getting to the cause and actually locating the threads, what will happen is when a circumstance similar to this pops up, instead of being reactive, like for example, if I'm hit in the face, like let's say someone's sitting next to me and someone punches me in the face and it hurts. It's like, ow. And they do it again, punch me in the face, ow. And then they do it a third time and I'm like, ow. And the fourth time, I'm not even going to think, I'm going to react, right? Because I've been trained through pain. So it's like pain, 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 reaction. Now it's an autonomic response and it's just automatic. Boom. Like I can't even help it because I've been trained through pain. And what happens is emotional pain is the same. So if someone says something or does something that causes emotional pain over and over and over, we get into a state of reactivity. And that reactivity is what represents that gray in the cup. So it doesn't mean just sit there and take it by not being reactive. It means by working out the reactivity, we can now react in a way that changes how the person actually treats us.
So I've done that. I understand the difference between a reaction and a response.
Okay, good.
You know, I've really been working hard on not reacting so much, but just listening to his perspective. And again, it's religion, it's politics, any of those types of things. And instead of just getting up and huffing and puffing and getting out of the room because I don't want to deal with it, I've sat there and listened. And then I try and come up with something that I can say that would be, that I could somehow connect with him in understanding.
And how'd that go?
And it goes a lot better. In fact, he has said, you know, I'm impressed that you are not just walking out, that you're talking this through. And so our discussions over the last couple of years have been a lot more calm and, you know, we don't argue about things nearly as much as we have. But I think because of all the arguments that we've had over the last 24 years, you know, there's like this deep pit that has been created.
Is there still a worry when you're sitting there listening? Like, do you have to feel like you have to be on ice, walking on ice?
Not as much anymore. I think, you know, because I felt like he was insulting my intelligence early on, I got really defensive with that. But I've learned I'm very intelligent and that I can carry on good, intelligent conversations, that I have points of view that matter. And so I think because of that confidence, it has changed the energy between us already. Does that make sense?
It does. So what I'm hearing is you're going through a loop right now. Because when we first started, you said that really it's my husband, my relationship. And now after we've talked through it, you said, well, really things are doing much better. Things are improving and they're good. And you validate it through all the work that you've done. So that tells me that there's something going on still very deep that needs to be addressed, because if someone brings it up, there's a reason for it. And
Right.
then we always like to validate it and say, but really it's okay. I think it's doing better. And we do that as a human being. But really underneath that, if we can get to the cause of those charges and remove them, then you wouldn't even bring up. It would be like, my spouse relationship's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So let's just pick one real fast so I can take you through the process. Pick one instance, what he said or does, even a modern one that still triggers you.
Okay, so he just did this today where he gets frustrated because I won't go and do things with him on Sunday and have more like family activities. And he suggested like our 24-year anniversary is on Sunday and we have baseball things going on this weekend. And so he suggested that we just go out on Sunday. And I didn't really say anything. He knows how I feel about it. But he just kind of changed the subject and was like, okay, well, maybe we'll try and postpone it for next week. You know, so it's those types of things of.
And what was your emotional response to that?
Well, emotionally, I was just kind of frustrated because I felt like, you know, we've gone over this before and every issue we've gone over probably a million times.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's not sinking in and I don't feel respected, you know, that
Great.
way.
Right there. So let's just do this. Rate not feeling respected. 0 to 10, 10 being the worst, 0 being not at all.
I think I'm at a 10.
So not being respected is also not being understood in there. Okay. So for those of you who don't know how to tap, this is one of the ways, and we're going to go very broad first, right? Because we're starting out big. And then for Wendy, she's going to need to get to very specific times from her past that she wasn't respected or understood, which is probably from her mother or father. And back when you may have said or done something that you didn't feel respected for. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So let's just do this. So even though, all after me, even though I don't feel respected or understood.
Even though I don't feel respected or understood.
Because I've told my husband my beliefs.
Because I told my husband my beliefs.
And he still ignores me.
And he still ignores me.
And I feel frustrated and angry.
And I feel frustrated and angry.
That he doesn't care what I believe.
That he doesn't care about what I believe.
And he doesn't respect my beliefs.
And he doesn't respect my beliefs.
I accept myself and forgive my husband.
I accept myself and forgive my husband.
Even though no matter what I do.
Even though no matter what I do.
I'm still not respected or understood.
I'm still not respected or understood.
I accept myself and forgive my husband.
I accept myself and forgive my husband.
Okay, now just tap these points. My husband doesn't respect or understand me.
My husband doesn't respect or understand me.
I'm not respected or understood.
I am not respected or understood.
Nothing works when I tell him what I want.
Nothing works when I tell him what I want.
I'm not validated and he ignores my beliefs.
I'm not validated and he ignores my beliefs.
He's always trying to counter what I believe.
He's always trying to counter what I believe.
I feel countered and not understood or respected.
I feel countered and not understood or respected.
Okay. I feel countered and not understood.
I feel countered and not understood.
So that's just a simple, so re-rate that feeling. It may have not changed. It may be down a little bit. So re-rate it. 0, not feeling understood or respected.
I think it's probably around an 8 now.
An 8, yeah. So little bitty drop. So now, due to time, we'll jump to the next piece here, I think, right? What time is it?
You have time to do one more little thing.
So I'm going to do one more thing and then I might have someone else hop on too so they can get the feel of it. So let's pick another instance that you didn't feel, another similar time that you didn't feel respected or understood.
Relating with my husband.
Anything. It could be anything. Earlier, similar time that you didn't feel understood or respected.
Well, I think, like you said, it goes back to your mom or dad. It definitely goes back to my dad. And he actually came out to visit us this past week, and a lot of issues came up for me.
And what was it?
Just
what happened with your dad?
There are different things that I noticed, that he's intolerant of cold, and he's intolerant of race, people with different race than him. He's often making comments about things like that. And it really bothers me because I love everybody and don't like how he's intolerant.
Okay. So did you have a specific instance where this occurred earlier, previous than the one that we just worked on?
So yeah, with my dad, when he came here last week, was that
okay. Was that is that earlier than the issue we just worked on with your husband?
It is, yeah.
Great. So let's do it.
Okay.
So what exactly happened? Start from the beginning, like your dad, you're sitting down, you're talking, he says, what does he say?
He just talks about how he doesn't like being in New Mexico because there are these Hispanic people, and they're just, I don't even want to say a lot of stuff he says. It's rude.
So here's what we're going to have to do. You're actually going to need to say it because it has power over you. So we're going to tap through it and forgive it and accept it. Okay.
And for everyone else on the webinar, this is just for the exercise of helping Wendy clear. We're not.
And I don't ever say anything. I'm not a negative person. I don't curse. I don't use those things unless I'm actually helping people remove blocks. Because what happens is when someone says a word and it creates a trigger, that word has power over us unless it's released and accepted and forgiven. So people who are afraid, I find a lot of people who are afraid to actually say what was said, and that actually continues the cycle to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's work through a specific instance.
So we're just going to take this one real quick. So, okay, so let's start. Rate that charge. What's the feeling? So not being respected or understood?
By my dad, it's definitely probably more like a 20.
Okay. So you're there, he's there, and he's starting to talk about New Mexico. And let's just say exactly what he said that caused you to feel not understood. Okay. So even though when my dad and I were talking.
And he
was talking about being in New Mexico.
And he was talking about being in New Mexico.
And he said.
That he wanted to move because of the Hispanos there, that there weren't, that he didn't feel comfortable, and that there weren't enough Anglos, is what he said. And I felt really angry because of his intolerance.
I accept myself. And forgive my dad.
And I forgive my dad.
Even though he was very intolerant.
And
I felt angry. Because anger always helps intolerance. I accept myself and forgive my dad. I was angry at my dad. He's so intolerant. So I'm angry at him. In order to tolerate him, I'm angry at him. I have to be angry. My anger helps me tolerate his intolerance.
My anger helps me tolerate my intolerance, and it sounds ridiculous.
And I accept myself and forgive myself completely and forgive my dad.
I accept myself and
forgive myself and forgive my dad.
I forgive myself and forgive my dad.
Okay, so pause right there. So that's just like a very beginning of what he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we could keep doing this, but what we're doing is we're stating the subconscious beliefs, which sound ridiculous once we tap it through, and then it actually removes the charge and the block. So
Wow.
was this good for everybody else to follow this through? Let me just, is everybody else present still with me? Was this useful? Give me some feedback, unmute yourself, or.
Suzanne says yes.
Great.
Cool. Lisa says yes. Okay.
Okay. So Wendy, I'm going to give you the challenge, okay, to write down all the instances that you've ever felt misunderstood and not respected. And
Okay.
start to work through that darkness in the cup, just like we were doing. Take that, even that example, it still has some more left on it to go through some of those other threads that happened with your dad, even just last week.
And
Okay.
chances are, if I was just going to take like a guess, Wendy, those things are showing up in your business as well. The feeling that you're not respected, you're not understood, people don't really want to hear what you have to say, yada 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 yada. All those emotions, I would guess, are showing up in your business.
They probably are.
And let me ask you, well, according to E equals MC squared, would that have an effect in all other areas?
Absolutely. I mean, my business has been pretty stagnant for the last 9 years. I haven't been able to, I guess this year was the first year that I doubled what I've done, and I've been working really hard on getting rid of a lot of these negative things. So that was good. I think I'm making progress.
Yeah.
I just doubled what I've normally done. Don't downplay that. Like,
That's a big deal.
kudos.
That's a
Like,
huge
way to
deal.
go. That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Celebrate. That's epic.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Wendy. So I'll just leave.
Thank you.
Put it on pause. I don't like to leave people in the middle of stuff, but you've had some practice with this, yeah. So I feel that you could continue this, and I'm actually going to offer something towards the end if you'd like some more personal help. So
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So way number 5, increase your capacity. We're talking about this cup
And let me just ask real quick, for all those who are watching, can you put in the chat box something you learned from that experience? Because what we were doing, if you were really listening and watching what I just took her through, there were some powerful lessons that hopefully you didn't miss. Because I wrote down, I have about 5 powerful lessons in my mind just through what we took Wendy through. So go ahead and take a moment right now and write down something you learned or gained throughout what we just did, because it's about recognizing. She says, what are my 5? Well, I want to see what you guys' answers are first.
So Suzanne says, you must find what was said specifically and how it was exactly interpreted with an emotional response. Perfect.
Great. Okay, cool.
If the rest of you feel free to go ahead and
feel
share.
free to put in the chat box
something you gained
your gain from that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and mute you, Wendy, there. Some background stuff.
Cool. So, you ready to?
Yeah, let's
Keep on
continue. My 5 essentially are tied to deep core beliefs that happen. So one of the lessons is that through our interpretation of not feeling good enough, that is usually tied to someone's response of depleting our self-worth. So like when her dad was countering how her belief system, in essence, it affects her sense of being, which will affect your sexuality, which will affect your intimacy, which will affect everything. Because even just that thing, like there's so many powerful lessons that we just went through. And that is tied to who she is in her identity. Because you take on your beliefs as your identity, which will then hurt and affect your relationship with your spouse, which will then affect your relationship with your clients. Because if you at your core identity don't feel solid, if someone attacks your identity, your belief systems, then it can throw you off, and it'll, that's just one of the lessons. So many other powerful things that we just went through that hopefully you guys got some of the deeper stuff there.
Cool. All right. So way number 5 is to go ahead and click on the screen. Increase your capacity. So if you have a really small cup, it gets full really fast, and your ability to really reach your goals doesn't work as well. Go ahead and click again. But if you can grow your cup, then you have a lot more space for money, for clients, for epicness with your spouse, those kinds of things. So way number 5 is about increasing your capacity. So go ahead and go. So there's 2 things that we're going to briefly touch on that increase your capacity. One of them is equanimity, and that's one of Tyler's signature words. I didn't really hear people say it a lot until Tyler started saying it. And then the second one is skill set. So go and talk to us about equanimity.
So let me ask everybody here, what is equanimity? What's your definition? What do you know about equanimity? What is equanimity? You can put it in the chat box or just unmute yourself and give us a definition.
And if you don't have one, just say, I don't have one.
Gotcha. Great.
Yes.
Does this have to do with like horses, equine? Like, what is this? Like equanimity. Any other guesses? Any guesses? Like equanimity. What does that mean? People are like Googling it.
You might as well just tell
All
me.
right. So equanimity, my interpretation of equanimity, yes. So Susan said, no judgment. Guessing that the world is fair, get what you give. Yes, so it's a place of non-judgment and acceptance. Non-judgment and acceptance, which is really powerful. So what we just took Wendy through was fascinating to me, because the very thing that she didn't like, she was actually doing to her dad, which was not being in a place of equanimity. And that's what happens to us all when we're charged, when we get charged. Like if someone's countering our belief system, or let's say they're just the dad was not being in a place of acceptance and understanding. So when he is not in a place of acceptance and understanding, she gets triggered, which is also in a place of non-acceptance and not understanding, and it feeds the whole pain, which creates this cycle, which no matter what happens, next time dad comes, next time it happens, boom, it recreates.
So it's basically, if you're in a place of not equanimity, it's like you're over here, they're over here, and you're coming head to head against them. And it feeds a feeling of negativity. Even when you're sitting there with a client, getting them to enroll in your program, if you're like, I'm over here and I want you to enroll in my program, and we're like this, you're not going to get very many clients, right? And that's why I put the picture of the fence there. If you're on one side of the fence and they're on the other side of the fence, it doesn't work very well. To get in a place of equanimity, you actually need to get both of you on the same side of the fence.
And see it from their perspective. So if somebody was very intolerant of someone, instead of being in a place of feeling angry or like my belief system is getting hit, a place of equanimity would be I'm on their side. And I would be interested, and I would be fascinated almost of like, wow, I can see like, yeah, why, what, and I'd be interested and wanting to understand. And so, I would learn to ask good questions, which is the next piece, the skill set. But being in a state of equanimity produces no reactivity, but only pure love and understanding, which philosophically is beautiful. And the reality is something
it doesn't happen super
a little
lot,
different.
right? Wendy raised her hand. Go ahead, Wendy.
Did you raise your hand on purpose? I don't know. It's kind of cool. Do you want us to unmute you? Go for
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. I just want to tell you both thank you so much for putting this on, because I really needed this. What you just said hits home. I mean, my dad even asked me, he says, why is it that every time we talk on the phone or I come in and see you, there's always some issue? And I have not been able to explain it until now. But it makes sense that because I feel like my identity is being attacked by both my...
We lost you, Wendy. I don't know what happened. Wendy, you still there?
Yeah, did you hear me?
Yeah,
Now
now
I
we
can hear
can. Keep going.
Okay. So what did you not hear?
You said
My
that
phone
your
just went out.
identity was being attacked, and then it kind of went off.
Oh, so I've been feeling attacked by both my husband and my spouse, or my husband and my father, and for bringing that to my awareness and understanding, you know, that I'm being triggered every time they talk to me, then that helps me to understand that I can do something about that, you know. So thanks for bringing that to my awareness.
You're welcome, and way to be open and learn. That's a powerful awareness.
Thank you.
Awesome. Very cool. And skill set. So equanimity is a really powerful thing. Skill set is also really powerful. And there's a lot that goes into that. And I wish we had time to cover all the pieces of the skill set that can expand your capacity. And these are things that, again, they work really well in your business and really well in your relationship, and it really well pretty much anywhere you have a relationship, even with money. Like, it can make a difference in your relationship with money if you come at it from equanimity as opposed to like coming across it.
Reactivity.
Yeah. So skill set, here's some of the skills that really help. Follow the thread. Being able to listen to what someone's saying and listen to what they're saying, ask them questions, listen to what they're saying, repeat what they said, and then relate to them. That's a skill set that is really, really powerful, and Tyler has a whole recording on that. The enrollment conversation, which is basically getting to the point where you can ask someone, helping them get clear on what they really want.
This works for all people. So even like father figures, husbands, spouses, kids, the enrollment cycle, follow the thread. This applies to every person, because all the enrollment cycle is being able to help someone see what they want, understand why they have obstacles or negativity,
or what's stopping
their
them.
problems, or stopping them from this, and then seeing if they're actually wanting to solve that, to overcome it, helping them form some solutions, and then commit financially, emotionally, time-wise, whatever commitment it is, to actually go overcome those obstacles and achieve their ideal lifestyle. And there's like 12 steps to the enrollment conversation, but you can do it with anybody, whether you're enrolling in a high-end package, or you're enrolling your child in to go take out the trash, or enrolling your dad to talk about the vacation, right? It's all the same.
Yeah. Masculine, feminine energy balance. Man, this is a big thing. And a lot of times when there's a conflict, it's because that isn't in balance, and that's a skill set as well. Defining words, that's a really powerful thing. So a lot of times we go through life and we have definitions of words that are not accurate. So for instance, with the example with Wendy, you have an example, of.
Well, let me share it. So here's defining words. I love helping people redefine words. So you have a definition of what dad means to you. And right now, based on our conversation, dad, Wendy, what does dad mean to you? I think you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. My dad means frustrating. I mean, I was divorced, or they divorced when I was in high school, and so it was somebody who leads, somebody who's not committed to their family. I mean, there's a lot of things.
Yeah. So that to redefine your definition, also people who have been in a negative, like love relationship, their definition of love could mean pain. I did a session this morning with a client, and we redefined her definition of love, because it was very imbalanced with her spouse. And so love meant pain, taking on pain at the expense of others. It meant not feeling understood. It meant getting hurt at others' pleasure. It meant fulfilling other people's needs. Love was so warped. I was like, well, no wonder you hate love. Like, your definition's warped. And then redefining it, saying this is the definition that's old, here's the new. And then doing the process to actually rewire the definition in your brain, which is super cool.
Mm-hmm. And then getting to the root, that's also, a lot of what Tyler was working on earlier, but being able to actually get to the point where you can say, okay, I'm triggered right now. I'm triggered by what, somebody said, and I'm going to go take myself through a process so I can find out what is inside of me that made me triggered at what he said. Because I know most of the time when I get triggered, it has nothing to do with him, and most of the time it has to do with me. So,
and my goal as a spouse is if she gets triggered for something I do, is if I have triggers myself, I'll get triggered by trying to understand, because she'll say you did this or you did that. But if I'm in a state of equanimity, I'll understand that she's just being reactive, and I can ask questions and listen to understand. And sometimes it's pretty tough. Like, I have to work really hard on clearing out my junk. And so does she, as I try to express, and she's trying to relate without getting re-triggered. Most people, though, I find that they trigger each other, and then they trigger, and then they like pull out the bazookas. Fine, boom, boom, and it's just this all-out war emotionally. But it's, can we be on the same side? And I can say, oh, man, I was a jerk, even if I don't feel like I was. Then if she's like, man, I really feel like you were a jerk, you didn't take time out for me, and I say, that's your truth. You're absolutely right. Like, I was a complete jerk. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm so sorry. And actually feel it, like be in that place of wanting to change. Then I can go on her side and we'll shoot darts together. Like, accept it together.
Yep.
And it's like, that was a terrible thing. And to say, what can I do to better that? And it takes the charge, because she's expecting me to say, no, I didn't. I'm not the jerk. Like, you didn't do this. I didn't know you expected that. And then we fight. But if I can be in a place of equanimity, it becomes this beautiful transformation that we can understand one another, and then form our cups evolve, because we just added love and acceptance. And then our income evolves and everything evolves.
Yeah. Very cool. So here's the ways that we covered today.
And as we're wrapping up,
understanding the laws, mastering essential relationships, understanding how and why messy relationships slow you down, remove the blocks, increasing your capacity. And there's so much to this. There's so many things that we could talk about with this. I just want to share a story. This is a really fun story from Tyler and I. So when we first got married, I was doing youth conferences. I was doing youth conferences all over the country. And Tyler was helping me with a youth conference one time, and we were finishing up, and we were so excited because it was an amazing youth conference. We had a great time, and we were in our car, and it was before we had kids. Like, we were just barely married, like a month.
In Arkansas.
In Arkansas. And so here we are in the car, and we're driving along, and we're just chatting. We're like, oh, wasn't it so cool when that kid had this breakthrough? And wasn't it amazing when this amazing thing happened, and that simulation was really great. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we hear this horrendous noise. It was like, and we're like, what on earth is going on? And we look around, and there's like nobody. We're like driving through this back roads, like up and down these hills.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it looks kind of like this picture, right? And we're like, but we seriously were like, there's no one else around. Where is this awful noise coming from? And then we look, and it's actually our car horn. It's like
going off randomly, and so I'm driving, and I'm beating on the horn. I'm like, I didn't do it, and I was like pounding on the horn until fortunately it stops. And we pull up to this huge town, a population of about 35 people. And we pull in, and there's a stop sign and a crosswalk. And I think the whole town is crossing the crosswalk at the time. There's like 10 people, like a quarter of the town. And we're like, we're here. And then all of a sudden, again, the horn.
And these people are crossing the road. They're like, wow! Like, what are are you doing? We're like,
They're
sorry.
looking at me. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I raised my hands. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's so hard. And I was like pounding on it. Like, stop making, stop making.
And then we go around this corner, and again, we go over a bump, and it's like, we're like, this is horrible, right? And we finally were like, we pull up, sorry.
You're good.
We pull up to where we were going to stop. And it was actually, we park, and we're like, oh man, this is kind of crazy. Like, this is a crazy thing. I don't know what's going on with the horn in our car. But we like turned it off. The car's off. We're fine. It's okay. Phew, we're going to be okay. And then we go away, and we actually like went overnight.
We carpool, and we get with my mom.
Else.
We come back, and we get in the car, and it's dead.
The car's dead. We're like, uh-oh.
Oh, shoot. So, and we parked it right next to a police station. And so it had to have been going off the whole time. So we get in, we jump it, and we drive back to Branson, Missouri, where we were living, which was like 2 hours away.
And we're like, oh my goodness, I'm glad we didn't get a ticket. So it's not like, in front of the thing. So anyway, we're like, man, that was a weird thing. But we were driving. And again, as we're driving, we go over this bump. And again, we hear this noise, but instead of like this horrendous like sound, it was like
we just hear this little and I look at Emily, and I was like, what's that noise? Do you hear that? And it's just like this little mouse, like
and it was the horn of the car, because it had worn itself out by making this blaring noise, and we actually had to take it in and like get it fixed, and it had worn out its battery. Well, why do we share that story? I think it's because as human beings, we are sending these messages out, whether or not we know it. We are actually driving down the road, and we're blaring this noise. It's like, right?
In conversations with your clients, with your parents, with your spouse, with your higher power, with your health, with everything. We have these messages that are blaring, which, according to E equals MC squared, gets a reaction.
And they're keeping us from achieving our goals in our business, in our life, and they're actually wearing us out, right? They're wearing out our energy and our ability to
get burned out, frustrated, tired, overwhelmed, and you've tried things for years that haven't been working.
And a lot of these things, go ahead and click on there, that we talked about before, your ups and downs, your inability to maintain, you're just not getting the clients that you want, self-sabotage, all these other things like that. They all have to do with those 5 key relationships. They really do. And no matter what your business, online, offline, products, services, coaching, speaking, healing, teaching, it is defined by those relationships that you have. And even the more advanced strategies that we teach to our higher level, even doing online funnels, even doing automated systems, it all really comes back to the relationships you have with yourself and with all those key relationships. So we want to share something with you today. We've been together for a little while, and we've talked about a bunch of things, and we would like to help you master those relationships so you can grow your business in a really big way, and so you're not out there making noises and blaring your horn out in the world, right?
And getting burnt out and frustrated.
Getting burnt out and frustrated. Is it okay if we share that with you?
Would anybody be interested in learning about how to do that? If not, we'll end it here. Like, I'm totally cool with that. I'm all about offering if people want to move forward in something. So if you would, just type in the chat box if you're interested in. Okay,
cool. So we want to offer you what we call a business and relationship assessment. Tyler is a master at helping people get results very, very quickly. And he's just, he's really, really good at it. I mean, we have people who in a 30-minute conversation with Tyler, they quadruple their business just off of one conversation.
Now they actually do it.
They actually did what he said, right? It wasn't just like a conversation.
Some
and they
people
didn't do
have
anything,
those 30-minute conversations and they stay the same, I'll be honest. But those who actually do it, lives can be changed within 30 minutes. And it's so cool. My belief is that one conversation can change the course of your entire life. And I believe that to be true. I grew up, one conversation with my dad changed my entire life in a very negative way because of all the horns, all the blaring messages that I interpreted and took on as myself. And I believe that it can be for the good as well. And that one conversation can make that difference.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes we need multiples, right? That's why I hire coaches and I get lots of conversations because I have a lot of junk. Yet one can be so powerful and so transformational. So we have this business and relationship assessment that we just put together recently. I've never done it this way before. And in the past, I usually do what I call strategy sessions. This is different. This is a business and relationship assessment. And what it does is you're going to go through a questionnaire that assesses all 5 areas of your business. And they're open-ended questions because I don't know what you know, but you do. So as you fill it out, you have to be very specific because you knew from the process, like it took us some time to get to the specifics. So the more specific you can get, the better the conversation will be. You'll have 1 hour with me, and if you would like to have your significant other there, if it applies, then so be it. Just have them listen to this replay so they know a little bit about me, so I don't have to share my story and all that stuff. Save some time.
Or just share that with them.
Or just tell them about me.
But the reason we want to have, if it applies to bring your significant other, again, is it's all about relationships. It's about your spouse, you and your spouse. And you want to be in together. Like you want to have this conversation and this assessment because it is the relationship. Yeah. Now, if they're not into that kind of thing, then maybe don't.
Or if you're not married.
Or if you're not married, then maybe don't bring it, right?
Just focus on the other pieces, the other relationships. And I'm going to do an analysis of your business and relationship and give you key actions to improve. So I might go into and take you through a process like we just did with Wendy, where we can get really clear on what it is that's stopping and start to eliminate it right there and give you homeworks and actions to go do.
In this conversation, he might go through it and analyze and say, oh, the missing piece right now is you're not communicating with your clients effectively. And here are some key pieces to clarify your communication with your clients. I mean, that might be part of it.
You might need some business skills. Like you may just not know how to go get clients.
Yep.
So whatever it might be, we have a pretty broad range of expertise. Just over the years, we've invested over $350,000 in the past 4 years, give or take, in growing our business and learning these skills. So it's been the best investment I've ever made in myself and in my relationship and in our business. And
like we mentioned in the beginning, we have created hundreds of thousands of dollars as well, in all of these different areas. So this is like a really, really high level conversation with Tyler. And he's going to analyze and just kind of help you figure out where the key pieces are that are holding you back. And again, this is the first time he's offered it. So you guys are a little lucky people. We put the value of $497 on there. Honestly,
I charge this when I go speak. So I do a lot of speaking events. I charge $500 to do a conversation. Mm-hmm. If you'd like, you could pay me $500. I don't mind. But because you guys have been here 90 minutes, we're going to give you something super epic. But before we share this, I just want to ask, if this could help you get one more client, what would it be worth to you? If this could help you connect better with a loved one, a dad, a mom, a husband, a wife, a kid, what would that be worth to you? If it helped you connect to yourself and just have a better relationship with yourself, what would that be worth to you? Would it be worth $500 to go through that experience? And hopefully for you, it would be. For me, it's worth a lot more than that. And I spend a lot more on that. Some of my coaches, I spend $1,500 for an hour session each month. So it's worth it.
And so here's some of the people that have worked with us. I won't read this whole thing. This is Heather. But she just talks about how she really went from love-hate relationship to actually loving what she does in a huge way. She took her sales from $15,000 to $36,000 a month. Emotionally, she grew more than she had in the past 3 months than 30 years. And she also said to Tyler personally that her relationship with her husband was the best it has ever been.
Yeah. Which to me, I think is awesome, because I like to see the balance.
This is Laren and Kyle. And they said when we started with Tyler, we felt like we knew exactly where we were going. We knew we wanted it with our higher power wanted. But then they realized when they worked with Tyler, they're just a little off. And then through his guidance tools and strategies, they were able to outsell their corporate trainers. They were in a network marketing company. And after working with Tyler, they outsold their corporate trainers, which was really cool.
Super cool.
High five for doing that.
But more importantly, and they say they found balance, peace, and harmony with their higher power, marriage, and long-term family goals. It's all about balance. Do you have mastery in all 5 relationships? And if one's off, let's start focusing on that and get it balanced. Let's upgrade your cup. Let's eliminate some of that dark goo that turns to concrete that keeps the space from really overflowing.
And then a lot of other things. So for all of you today, we just want to offer
super simple. I'm not going to charge a whole lot for this, but I do want something that way I know that there's a commitment. And it'll be 1 hour. Well, again, we'll go over all the pieces, fill out the questionnaire. It's $97 for today. And on the recording, this offer will be open as long as the recording's up. It'll be taken off on the weekend. So
Saturday night.
For those of you who are live, I'm only looking to take about 5 of these conversations because my schedule is pretty packed. So if you'd like to get access to it, here's the link. And
we'll just copy it and put it in the chat box as well.
So let me, so it's enrollmentmasters.com/business relationship assessment, and with a hashtag or with a dash there. And we're gonna, let me stop sharing real quick and get this up. Any questions while I find the link?
And then Talon said I couldn't put a price on it when he's asking what it would be worth to get to know yourself, to be able to connect with your relationship, to be able to get your business growing, and it couldn't be a price on it. And I agree with that. I agree with those things.
So any questions, even just about any of the content or about the offer or what we're doing, how it would work. Basically what happens, and here we'll put it here. Ding. So if you'd like, click that and go to it. So basically this is how it works. You click on it, you pay $97. It goes to a scheduling link. You schedule yourself, fill out the questionnaire. We meet. If you'd like to do Zoom in place of the conference call, either way, we're going to record it so that you can have access to it and listen to it, because I'm going to go pretty dang fast. And I like to dive deep and do a deep dive. So on this, what this is like, I'm not actually going to offer anything. This is a pure transformational call. And if something does resonate with you as we're processing and you want to take it to the next level, we'll schedule a separate conversation to explore how to work with me long term. Okay. So this is purely just to help transform, but it's really for those who are looking to get the 5 relationships fully balanced. So questions on this? Comments?
I'm driving right now, so can you send that to us in an email, please?
Yep, we'll do that.
Yep. So
Thank you.
I'll email it to all those who are registered, the link.
Awesome, thanks.
And the questionnaire happens after you purchase. So once you click the link and then sign up, it should go straight to a scheduling form that has the questionnaire. If not, let me know. But that's how it should work out. Yeah. Good question, Lisa. Okay.
Any other questions? Suzanne says, if I feel my relationships are good, is there still value? I've done so much work, but again, I'm new at my business. So one of those relationships is your clients. And if you don't have all the clients that you want, Suzanne, I would definitely sign up. Because like I said, for the past 4 years, our main focus has been helping people grow their businesses.
We've literally helped people who were selling stuff for $40 and getting some consultations here and there. And then going through some of the teachings that I taught them, one person took it to make $12,000 in a week, and from $40 a session, not bad. And then we had another person actually go through who made $15,000 the year before, and she, after doing and applying the principles, made $40,000 in a month. So not too shabby. And then I had another guy who full-time, he was like 24 years old, full-time working, going to college, never sold anything. And he went through a lot of the teachings that I teach, and he made, after applying it several months, the third month of applying it, made $18,000 once he got it down.
So again, that's our thing, Suzanne. So if you're starting a business, if you're like, I feel great with my relationship with my spouse and those other relationships, but I want to work on my business, I would definitely sign up for that again, because that's the relationship with your client.
We didn't talk much about the personal, but if you're going through thoughts of like depression, suicidal thoughts, lack of energy, inability to feel motivated, that's all about self.
That's also a relationship. And
that is a relationship. So if you want to specifically work on that, or feeling triggered all the time by people or instant circumstances, or that money is always a worrying on your mind, like you can't get money worry off your mind, then that's the money relationship. We didn't talk about all those. Or I just can't get straight answers from my higher power. Like I feel like I'm off. I feel like I'm disconnected. Then each one of those are relationships. And if that's the priority, based on the questionnaire, I'll know what the priority is. And if you still are unsure after going through the questionnaire, then on the conversation, I will get to the root very quick. So
Lisa says, what relationship do I start with? That's actually why you get on the
It's a great question. I don't know.
Conversation with him, because it depends on who you are. Like some people need to start with their client relationship, because once they get their client relationship intact, then everything else will work, you know?
The one that you're going to start with is the one that you're going to be the furthest from your ideal, right? And we'll talk about that. So on the questionnaire, you're going to talk about all your ideals and all of your obstacles or the problems in each of those categories.
And Tyler, I can tell you within probably about 10 minutes, he'll know which one you need to start with.
We'll get to it. Trust me.
And he'll give you some things to start with.
You'll get it very quick.
So Suzanne says, in what time frame are you having these assessments? So that's a great question.
What does that question mean? What time
Meaning
frame?
like in the next week? Is that when you're holding up? Like,
yeah, just whenever you can schedule. So I have openings next week, and you can book out up to a month. So I have openings next week. The week after, I do my mastermind, so that one will probably be booked out. The week after, though, I'm open. So next week or 2 weeks from next. So or 2 weeks from today, at the latest. So even 3 weeks, because it has a whole month, 30 days you can schedule. So does that answer your question?
Does that answer your question, Suzanne? A company from Norway and going out of town. So you went to July. Yes. I think the scheduler goes out to the first week of July, because we're on the 7th of.
And if you can't find anything on there, just email me, and you can email us at support at enrollmentmasters.com. Okay. And we'll make it happen. I'm not one of those who's like, oh, your time's expired. Not at all. Like, I want you to get results. So if you put it on, and even if none of the times worked for you, then reach out to me and we'll do it off calendar. I'm okay. I won't do that with 100 people, but if 2 or 3 of you need to do that, that's fine. Right. So great questions. Okay.
Awesome.
Any other final questions? Okay, awesome. So go ahead and click that link, register. It'll be $97 again, and fill out that form. If you have any other questions, just email us, support@enrollmentmasters.com. this recording should be up. You should get it by tomorrow, and we'll put in the link for the assessment in and of itself for that offer so that you can get that as well.
Sweet.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. This has been super fun. You will get an email for the recording.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then share this with anybody that you know. You know, that's just our way of serving and giving. If this has made a difference for you, then share this with someone. I believe that the more people that can learn these principles, the bigger impact that it'll make. And that's just a big thank you from Emily and I, because the best way that people get information is sharing it, you know, with a friend. So if you do that for us, we'd love that. That'd mean a lot to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And you guys are awesome. And we will see you
soon
around.
And look forward to all the conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.